Hello, I'm Reverend Paul Gaspar, and for over 35 years, I've been helping people with life and living. Tonight, as usual, I'm going to be asked some questions, so sit back, relax, and hear the answers.
So the topic today is opioids. So many people are constantly overdosing here in America with some sort of drugs, and I think this is probably the country with most overdoses. Why is that? And I know we have spoken something about pharmacists and opioids, but why is
Remember when I said about how you can get on a subject and it's so broad? It's because of our wealth. It breeds selfishness. Opioids, if I said that properly, is really, it has really nothing to do with it. It's what people abuse. It could be sex, gambling, uh, too many football games in one day, anything to take us out of the now. And why do people use alcohol and all these different things is because of their immaturity. They're trying to escape the feelings that they have that they don't like. So they think if I do this, I will feel better. But if you talk to anybody who knows anything about this, there isn't enough alcohol or drugs or sex in the world to make it go away. It's and with alcohol, it is first a stimulant, then it's a depressant. So what's the best you can hope for? Something bad. So and God, if you believe in God, God would be cruel if He left us be addicted to anything. For many years, I worked at Brentwood. We took guys off heroin and cocaine in a weekend. Not a problem, because that is not the problem. So, having said that, uh, people think and they want to come up with something, with some other kind of expensive thing to get people off of, of these different things that they're using to escape, when in reality, it's they don't have the maturity to say, hey, I'm hurting. This is bothering me, and it's bothering me so much. I can't sleep, I can't eat, I don't know what to do. And as Father Paul used to say, the two most spiritual words in the English language are, help me. God would be cruel if He didn't put the people in our lives to help us. But we have to have freedom to ask. And if we don't ask, we don't get. And so what happens? We end up spending the rent money, the mortgage money, the grocery money, the car payment on things that are no good for our wives, are no good for our children, and then we're not any better and we're broke. So escaping our feelings only makes things worse. When what we should be doing is saying, hey, you got a few minutes? I need to share. I got some pain in here. I've got to share it. But people don't do that. They try to escape on their own, and that never, ever works. I was sharing with somebody earlier this evening, a Christian Baptist, I think he was, not that that matters, and our divorce rate is 51%, whether you go to church or not. What does that mean? It's all about self, right? It doesn't matter what God says. Hey, I don't like this. This marriage thing isn't working for me. I'm out of here. And why would you do that? Why would you turn your back on the man or the woman who's supposed to love you? Because you don't know how to fix it. You don't know what you're doing wrong. So what do? You blame others when it's always us. Always, if I don't feel good, it's something that I'm not doing. Always. And if I'm looking at someone else, I'm just shirking my responsibility because I'm blaming. And God would be cruel if He left our happiness up to someone else. And He didn't.
What would you do if in the workplace, or anywhere else for that matter, you met someone and you felt that there was something that was really bothering them, but they didn't have the freedom to open up to you about it? Should you confront that person? How would you handle that situation?
It's funny that you asked that question because we're doing this every day with someone. I'd ask them for breakfast or coffee. And then I would share with them what their pain was like for me when I was experiencing it.
Oh.
Okay? So, because now you've made yourself real to that person. Because people get so caught up in their head, they say, I'm the only one that's got this. Nobody understands. So instead of asking them and having them explain, you explain when it was like that for you, like you did earlier about the marriage and so on and so forth, right? So people say, well, geez, that happened to Ellie. Wow, that happened to Reverend Paul. You know what I mean? And then we're explaining, because we're all human. We all have challenges, but we keep them a secret. And what's that old saying about
You're as secret as
you're as sick as your secrets? That's right.
So I have a question.
Hang on. Did I answer?
Yeah.
Did I? Okay.
So, but why is it that people don't have the freedom to ask for help?
Well, ego, pride, there's 1,000 reasons, mostly because their parents never taught them to ask. You know, the kids were afraid of being punished, so they didn't ask. They just said, hey, I know how to live. And then they wake up 25 and it's not working out the way they thought. And then when they're 35, oh my God.
Could it also be denial?
Well, that's all part and parcel of not asking, right?
Mm-hmm. Rather than dealing with the issue at hand, they just don't talk about it.
Well, what do they say, especially for women, eh? Strong women give up or pick up and move on. The weak give up and hang on because they don't know what to do.
What do you mean denial? When you say
Well, you deny that this is happening, you know. It's easy to say this is not happening. It's your fault. It's just not me. I can't be at fault. Do not be blaming me for this, right?
so, what do you? My question is, what does somebody do when they have a spouse who's on opiates or a son or a father?
Easy question. Easier answer. Give us a call.
Give you this a call.
Hmm?
But what if they
On
can't?
Facebook, Twitter, make an appointment on YouTube.
But what if they can't give you a call? You know, for whatever
Well,
reason.
go to somebody they believe cares because God has put someone in their life, a grandmother, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, somebody whose heart works. They care, they love, they forgive, they could be there for others. Go to that person and share your pain with them. It's the same with, in the old days, they talked about the oxen and the mules. If your cart weighed this much, not two, you could have one oxen. If it weighed a lot more, you'd have to have two because they call that sharing the load. Life is no different. If we share our burden with someone else, all of a sudden it's not as heavy as it was before. But you've got to share with people who are lovable, who care. You know, you share with a person who doesn't care, I mean, that's not going to do you any good. And it's not about just telling the story of what happened. It's sharing the feelings of what happened. That's how you can let go and get past it.
Have you ever encountered people who have shared a situation with you, but they're incapable of sharing their feelings because they don't even know what they should be feeling?
Right. Well, in that particular case, the way we were trained is we don't allow that to continue. We ask them, okay, when that happened to you, how did you feel? Do you remember when I asked you that?
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing, because until we get to the feeling of it, we'll never be able to let it go. We'll just keep telling the story over and over again, and we'll get no relief. The burden will get worse, actually. But if we can share how it made us feel, how vulnerable, how scared for our, whatever it is, if we share those things, then the process that God gave us, we will be allowed to let it go. And we will feel forgiveness and acceptance from those who we're sharing with because they have the ability to love. Was
Yeah.
that?
So basically, they have to go when somebody is dealing with this, whether it's a son, a spouse, or a parent. They have to go consult with somebody who's an expert, basically, or not an expert, but loving.
Yes, because love is the answer. That is God's greatest gift. It is just, I don't even know how to, if I was a a medical person, I would say it would be the number one, the number two, and the number third drug in the world. Because let's face it, if you have your life, if you have some balance, how bad can life be? You know, the medical people, they can fix the medical things, right? But it's usually the problems with the children, the problems with the workers, the problems with the husbands or wives, or these are the problems that we don't know how to fix. Why? Because they're spiritual problems. They're not religious and they're not physical. They're spiritual. And how many people understand the spiritual? That was in another video that we did several months ago about, I used the analogy about the Duncan Hines cake mix. I love using that. Why? Because you buy this cake mix and it has 3 ingredients. You need water, oil, and eggs. And when I'm giving a talk, I say, which one of these ingredients could you leave out and still have a successful tasting cake? Well, the answer is none. And God is the same way. God's recipe for life is the physical, the material, and the spiritual. And you have to find the balance in those things. But I ask people this every day, and they all say, the spiritual? What are you talking about? So they don't even know that this is part of life. Why do you think they have problems? Because they don't even know what the recipe is. So how can they have balance? How can they have the peace and the joy and the happiness that God guarantees us when they don't even know what we're here for?
So
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that brings up a very good question. How would you describe the spiritual to people who don't know what the spiritual is?
You have a one-on-one with somebody that accepts you, that cares about you, you'll know everything there is to know about it. Because what the spiritual is sharing the love, the caring. You know, I'm hurting, this bothers me. I share with Lori. Lori says, hey, I had that problem. My sister, my mother had that problem, and this is how it made me feel. You start sharing about the feelings. You're accepting one another, right? You're sharing. Now you're caring. Now you're loving each other because that's how God made it. Not a darn thing we can do about it. But if you don't share, you can't care. And if you can't care, you can't love. And that's the problem. You know, when husband and wives aren't getting along, well, they're not caring for each other then, right? They're into self, into my selfishness. Hey, you just made me feel bad. You know, you didn't tell her that you lost the mortgage money and you lost the car payment money and the grocery money. No wonder she's mad at you. You see? Because we don't see the big picture. We just see self. Me, me, me. And what is self? Self is the opposite of love. And every time a married couple comes to see me, they don't even have to tell me what the problem is because it's always the same. The wife doesn't feel loved and the husband doesn't feel respected. The rest is all just, I can't even think of the word. It's just window dressing. Because at the end of the day, what does a woman want? She wants what God put in her. She wants to feel loved. He made women that way. And how did he make men? He made us to need to feel respected. So if I don't feel respected, it doesn't matter how much icing's on my birthday cake. I don't care because I don't feel because that's the number one thing. Okay? And when the number one ingredient's missing, life's not so pleasant. Did that answer? Are we taking a break?
No.
Press this.
No, you have to make sure you say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they gave me a note here because I keep forgetting. Please make sure to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter. If you need to make an appointment on youth, all these things will be right up on the page. So thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Share it with a friend. Take care.